Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Chris from Source Compile Studios, and we've got a noise gate shootout for you today. First up on deck, we've got an ISP Decimator II. This is the normal version of ISP's line of decimators. It is not the G string version. Unfortunately, I do not have that on hand. Next up, we've got a Fortin Zuul, which is known to be the king of all kings and hype at the moment. So we'll definitely see how that one goes. It features a key input on there, which actually tracks the guitar coming into the Zuul. Next up online, we've got the Boss NS2 noise suppressor, and it features a noise reduction system and a decay mode, as well as the threshold, as well as the ability to do a 4-cable configuration with it to send it in the effects loop and also pass through the guitar signal to the front of the amp. Last but not least, we've got ISP's kind of high-end ISP Decimator Pro Rack G system here. And this is actually a dual channel system which features 2 individual noise gate channels. This is not the stereo version. So this one actually does have the guitar tracking on channel 1, which acts almost kind of like the key input on the Fortin Zuul. So it'll be interesting to see how the 2 channels versus the single channel noise gates react and with different configurations. So what we're going to do here is we've got an ENGL Savage amplifier here, which everybody knows is a noisy beast of an amp. This amp we're going to go ahead and put into channel 4 in high gain mode and run everything through the effects loop on the ENGL Savage. Now, my personal opinion, I love all these noise gates for different applications. I don't know that any one of them personally is better than the other. I think they all have their uses, and depending on your dynamics, your playing style, the amps you're playing through, and your configuration of where you're putting them, either on the pedal board, you may be using these before an overdrive, after an overdrive, in front of the amp, or maybe in the effects loop, or with the dual configuration noise gates, you may be using both in the front and the effects loop, both. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how well these do paired against each other and with their varied options. What we're going to do is kind of, again, throw these in the effects loop. We're going to do some sweeping of the thresholds and just see how it handles kind of the normal preamp noise of the ENGL Savage. I think it'll be a good test. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and run DI track through Pro Tools and through my Torpedo Reload and play some riffs and play the same riffs through on the guitar with some high gain pickups. And see how each of these does. All right. Okay, so we've got the ENGL Savage on here. We've got it on channel 4. We've got the master volume set reasonably at a decent volume level here. We can see our gain level is about here for the lead gain. I'm just gonna kind of crank this up a little bit. Let's give it a little bit more effectiveness. See what these gates can do. Let's turn the lead volume up just a hair. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to come over to this ISP decimator here. Right now we've got it on. Let's go ahead and turn that off. And we'll go ahead and put it all the way down for the threshold. I've got it running into the back of the amp here. 100% send on the effects loop. Okay. And what I did here is I pulled up Pro Tools here, and I've just got my Neutron Advanced equalizer here, so we can kind of see the frequency bands that come in as we let the amp through. So by default here, we're going to let the amp through with none of the gates on. I also loaded up the wall of sound here just to emulate the speaker cabinets. No settings on the EQ at all, so there's no kind of coloring or anything being done there. Whoa. So we can see right away, you know, just turning the amp on by itself, we have this huge frequency spectrum here and all this noise that's coming through that we can hear. Okay? So now we're going to go ahead and do a sweep. Let's go ahead and just engage our decimator. We can see that it hasn't really changed anything or made any difference here. We're going to go ahead and sweep this knob until we get some kind of a change going on. Okay, we can see right there we get a shift, and that's a little over noon, but we still have a lot of noise coming through, as we can see. So we're going to turn this until we get all the way down and cut off the noise. So there's quiet right there, and that's with the decimator all the way maxed. Now if we go ahead and ease it back up, we start getting a little bit of noise back here. You know, we're naturally going to get a little bit of line noise anyways, but as far as audible noise, right here is about where it starts being audible, just barely a little bit. Okay. Now, knowing this pedal well and playing this, you know, how much is this going to let the guitar through at this threshold? Is this very sufficient? So we'll find that out later and kind of mark this as our quiet spot. And that's about where the audible noise stops. Okay, so next up we've got the Fortin Zuul. And right now we're going to do two tests with the Fortin Zuul. We're going to do one without the key input into the effects loop, and one with the key input into the effects loop. And I think you're going to see what a shitload of difference it makes. Nothing's changed on the amp. We've still got our EQ up here to check out the frequencies, and let's go ahead and give this a spin. Oh yeah, here's all that noise you love in your guitar tone. So let's go ahead and engage the Fortin Zuul here by itself. We have it on, and we're just going to go ahead and up the threshold a little bit at a time and see where the spectrum changes. Up, oh, finally we get a little bit of spectrum change. But you can see the Zuul without the key input isn't doing a fucking thing, pretty much. Okay, so now we're going to take this splitter, we're going to back off the Zuul here, let's disengage it, let's plug it in to the key input. Okay, and notice that your guitar signal would normally be coming in here. So now we engage it, boom, instant silence, just about, with the Zuul. So you can definitely see how much the key input makes a difference. Now, keep in mind, once you plug your guitar into it, it's going to open up this gate and let the noise in. So let's see if we just kind of move our threshold, and we can see the orange light here that the Zuul is engaged. It is filtering the noise. But you can see night and day difference with the key input and it gating the noise right off the bat with this dial all the way minimalized. We can see if we just keep moving it up the frequency spectrum, we really get nothing. But moving the dial in the thresholds, we can see the jumps in the actual noise coming through if you move the dial kind of at a quick motion. And actually, it seems like if you quickly turn it into back motion, minimalize, it does jump the frequency a little bit here and some of the noise. You can see it kind of jumping around, but you can see it's quiet and audibly quiet the whole time. Okay. Next up, we've got the NS2 noise suppressor. All right, same test as before. Let's go at it. Let's go ahead and let our beautiful noise through. Oh, lovely. So we'll just go ahead and engage this, and right now I've got it set to mute. See that? Let's engage it, and we can see that on mute, it mutes the sound, and the noise doesn't come through. So let's go ahead and switch it to reduction mode. And we've got the decay set all the way up. We have a slower decay on it. Let's go ahead and keep turning the threshold knob here and see where things change. And if you notice, because of the decay, having a slower decay, maximizing the threshold is giving that slow decay at the end and causing the noise to go down. But you can see this is fully maxed out. So let's give a shorter decay here. And that's minimal on the threshold. We're moving it up, up, and we get some reduction here on it. Still very audible. This is near maxed out though. Does it kill the noise right off the bat? No. Mind you, this is the 2-cable method, and we're going to go ahead and check this in a 4-cable configuration as well. Okay, we're back here with the NS2 noise suppressor. So what I've decided to do is actually a 3-cable configuration with this, since we're not testing any sort of guitar signal, and that's going to come in part 2 of this. So we're going to basically mimic what the Zuul does with a 3-cable configuration. Having the guitar go through this right now, we'll do in a second part test where we'll actually test opening and closing the gate with the guitar. But what we're trying to do now is just demonstrate the initial noise reduction that it's doing straight from the preamp through the effects loop, and see how those kind of compare in the similarities. So obviously all these noise gates are a little bit different. So let's go ahead and get started. So again, we have our lovely noise here coming through. We can see this. I've got the decay set all the way down, thresholds down, and we'll just go ahead and engage this. I've got the splitter acting as the key input into the input here, the send going into the return of the Boss NS2, and the send going back into the return. So that down, you can see it killed most of the audible noise right away, but we can still see some of that noise coming through, and you can still hear a little bit of that audible noise coming through. Okay, and what I'm noticing here, we'll go ahead and kind of sweep the threshold here and just kind of see if this changes at all. Okay, so with this threshold all the way maxed out, you can see it doesn't kill 100% of the noise that's coming through. So you're getting that noise through one way or the other, and it's not stopping everything. Not as much as the Zuul did right off the bat with the key input. So that's that. Let's move on to the ISP Decimator Pro Rack G next. Alright, so next up we've got the ISP Decimator Pro Rack G here. So we've got both these channels switched off right now. I've got the same 3 cable configuration. We've got the output of this radial going into channel 1's input in the back, and the send and receive going into channel 2 here. So let's go ahead and let our lovely noise back through. Okay, we're going to go ahead and engage channel 2 here, since that's where the send and receive's coming through. And we can see initially there's no gain reduction here. We've got our lovely noise coming through. We're just going to bump this threshold until we see some changes here. Okay, so around -40 we start to see some gain reduction, about -10 dB it looks like here. So let's keep going with it. We can still hear it audibly, and about here we're about at -40. You can still hear some audible noise here, and we'll just keep turning this. And about here at I want to say about -35, which is what I noticed. You get kind of inaudible noise. So right now it's pretty quiet. You can still see some coming through. Let's turn it even more, and about at -30 here, about the halfway point, is where we see kind of the line noise coming in here. But that's kind of hard, can't get rid of that. This is where it completely kills the preamp noise coming through. So about halfway through. And what I noticed with the ISP decimators when playing this, the sweet spot for this is kind of around halfway point, between -30 and -25 or so. So we've got that with just channel 1. Let's go ahead and go back, let our noise back through, and let's engage channel 1. Remember, we've got the filter tracking here, which we can see if we turn it left and right does nothing right now. But let's go ahead and move our threshold up here, and we'll put it about halfway point. We'll go ahead and put the filter tracking at 0 for now, and let's go ahead and move our channel 2 threshold. Okay, and it seems like the preamp noise, we get the same gain reduction of the same inaudibility, about -35, and about -30, a little bit less than -30, I would say, kills it completely. There's just a little bit on the spectrum here. Okay. Now let's go ahead and move the filter tracking around and see what we get. Okay. And we're not going to get anything. Obviously, there's no signal coming through here. I just want to demonstrate how nothing's coming through. And channel 1 will sweep that, and nothing's coming through. So right now, channel 1's not really doing much of anything. And again, in the next video we'll go ahead and kind of analyze the actual guitar signal going through this, because that's where you really get a lot of the differences in your transparency and your sound. And then you have the gate actually opening up. So what tones are coming through your guitar, and how much noise is coming through when the gate actually opens up itself. And that's what we kind of need to determine here. How can we take that signal and disseminate it from you know, the actual noise that's coming through once that gate opens up, and how much does a second channel here actually filter out from the guitar itself before it goes into the preamp, and then how much is coming through after, and then how much is the noise gate filtering after or when that gate's opening up compared to you know, just sitting kind of idle right now. So, and we can see there's quite a bit of range left on the threshold here, you know, for the ISP to play with. So, you know, a little bit different than the Zuul here. Obviously, you can see when we turn the Zuul on initially, it kills the noise right off the bat. And I can tell you from using these pedals here, there's a sweet spot on the Decimator. Plug it in the guitar, in the Pro Rack G, in that -30 spot to about -25 here. You have a little bit of range, maybe a little bit before -30, before it starts sucking tone a bit. Okay, and the filter tracking itself, the more you give it also, it'll start sucking your tone also. So there's very little room here to play with between, you know, on the threshold of the channel 2, that it actually gives you to be able to kill the amp noise and also gate and not suck your tone, not suck your sustain effectively. Where the Zuul itself, I notice, number one, it'll kill the preamp noise right away. You have a lot of range on the Zuul where it won't kill your sustain, it won't start sucking your tone. But we'll have to go over this in another video. I find, you know, about 12 o'clock on the Zuul though, you get very staccato type of sounds. That's where you get the, you know, probably your best chugs out of this. But it does start killing your notes. It does start stripping your sustain also. So that's part 1 of this. You guys stay tuned for part 2, and if you have any comments, please leave them below, and I'll see you next time.